While several teams are in the middle of a rebuilding campaign, several others are looking to take the next step in their rebuilding efforts. These are teams that are a couple pieces short of being a Stanley Cup contender, or so we think. These teams are the most unpredictable year in and year out. Will everything click and see them rise to the top of the standings, or will it all fall apart and send the organization back to square one? This is Sam from Trash Talk, and today I am ranking the middle 11 teams in the NHL for the 2018-2019 season. For the first time in 10 years, the Stanley Cup playoffs were without the Chicago Blackhawks. This franchise has won 6 Stanley Cups in its history, with 3 of them coming in the past decade, led by the core of Patrick Kane, Brent Seabrook, Duncan Keith, and Jonathan Toews. However, most of those guys are in their 30s, with Kane's 30th birthday coming this November. It should go without saying that the most successful Chicago dynasty since Michael Jordan's Bulls may be ending. So with all these aging veterans, it made no sense for the Blackhawks to go out and get 34-year-old veteran Cam Ward, who will be splitting starts with the Chicago veteran Corey Crawford. But it gets better. To add to their aging roster, the Blackhawks signed 38-year-old Chris Kunitz. Really? Don't get me wrong, there's plenty of young talent here. Alex DeBrincat led all players with 3 hat tricks last season, tied with Connor McDavid and Alex Ovechkin. Not bad company, but as a whole, this roster is old, and the consequences of that age started to show last season. Even after their first round exit in the Stanley Cup playoffs last season, to even make the postseason was inspirational for a Devils team that finished in last place in the Eastern Conference the year before. All the pieces who rose to the challenge return this coming season. The Hart Trophy winner Tyler Hall is joined by Nico Hischier, Kyle Palmieri, Will Butcher, just to name a few. This youth movement will all be back this coming season with an extra year of experience under their belts. However, many of the supporting staff is out the door. Michael Gabner is in Arizona, John Moore is in Boston, Patrick Maroon is in St. Louis, and Brian Gibbons is in Anaheim. All of this with 0 notable acquisitions this past summer. Who knows, maybe the youth movement improves on last year and the Devils surprise me. Or maybe the lack of veterans will send the team sliding back down to the bottom of the East. Only time will tell. The Connor McDavid Show returns for Season 4 in Edmonton this coming year. A 3rd straight 100-point season and a 3rd straight Ross Trophy is the expectation for the former #1 overall pick from 2015. But we all know that. The question is, as always in Edmonton, what about the other 19 players in orange and blue? Workhorse Cam Talbot returns in net after starting 140 games over the past 2 seasons for the Oilers. It appears that he will get the lion's share of the starts, as the Oilers have opted to stick with Al Montoya as his backup. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Leon Drysdale, and Darnell Nurse all return for this coming season. The front office added plenty of depth by going out and acquiring Toby Reeder and Jacob Yarabik this past summer. The Oilers are going to be a good hockey team. They're going to be a good hockey team for a long time. The only question is, do they begin their dynasty this year, or do they wait till next year to begin it? After finishing with easily the worst record in hockey 2 seasons ago, the Avs rebounded very nicely and made it to the postseason for only the 2nd time in 8 years. Among the improvements was netminder Varlamov, who returned to form after a very disappointing 2017. Avs fans should expect much of the same, even as he gets a new backup in Philip Grubauer. Nathan MacKinnon, who experienced a breakout year this past season, will likely find continued success as he's sharing the first line with Mikko Rantanen and Gabe Landeskog. Though, the problem for Colorado is that McKinnon can't play on every line, as the depth at forward is going to continue to be an issue this year. Every aspect of the Avalanche improved last season, but the big question becomes which of these improvements will be sustained, like McKinnon, and which are likely to regress, like the blue line. Even at this ranking, Colorado is one of the most unpredictable teams going into the NHL this season. The Flyers have quickly turned into the Washington Redskins of the National Hockey League. A historically proud franchise with loads of tradition waiting in a pool of mediocrity for the past half a decade, looking to sign that one big-name free agent who will finally turn things around. This past summer, that big-name free agent was Toronto's James Van Riemsdyk, combined with Claude Giroux, Sean Couturier, Jacob Voracek, and Travis Konecny, this cast of forwards makes a strong argument for one of the best in hockey. But it is Philadelphia, and when it's Philadelphia, there will always be questions surrounding the netminder position. This year, Brian Elliott returns after posting a pedestrian stat line last season. Michael Neuvirth will serve as his backup, but as we can see, after starting 13 goalies in the past 6 seasons, the Flyers will throw anything at the wall, hoping that something will stick. This could be a very solid Flyers team, the best they've had in years. If one of the goalies can get on a hot streak, they could be very dangerous in the postseason. If they fail to make it, however, it may be time to blow it all up and start from scratch. It must be frustrating to be a Stars fan. Well, more so than it's frustrating to be a fan of any team in the NHL. Over the past 7 full seasons, the Stars have finished with 40-plus wins on 6 different occasions, but they only have made the postseason twice in that span. The line of Tyler Seguin, Jamie Benn, and Alex Radulov remain one of the deadliest in the Western Conference. However, production outside of the first line was non-existent last season, and Stars fans shouldn't expect much different this year, as the front office didn't make many moves at all this past summer. John Klingberg will continue to highlight this cast of defensemen with much of the same look as last season's squad, who did a decent job protecting Ben Bishop. Speaking of, Ben Bishop has yet to recapture the magic from his tenure with the Lightning since being traded in February of 2017. There's nothing to hate about this team, but there's nothing to be awe-inspired by. Very few teams are as prepared to deal with the injury bug as the Stars are, but with much of the same look as last season, expect much of the same result. Going into the All-Star break, the Florida Panthers were as good as dead, sitting in 14th place in the Eastern Conference. Then, a 4-win streak, a 3-game win streak, a 6-game win streak, all a part of a 25-8-2 record in the second half, only to finish 1 point short of a playoff spot behind the New Jersey Devils. One of the keys to the turnaround was the stunning offensive production, a result of the depth at the forward position. Alexander Barkov, Vincent Trocheck, Jonathan Huberdeau, Evgeny Dadonov, and Nick Boydstead would all be household names if any of them were as easy to pronounce as Connor McDavid. Roberto Luongo and James Reimer will split starts between the pipes, aided by an experienced core of blue liners like Keith Yandel and Aaron Ekblad. The biggest challenge facing the Florida Panthers is the top of the Atlantic Division, but they proved last year that they can hang with the Bostons and Tampa Bays of the division. But now, let's see if they can do it for a full 82-game schedule. It's almost like the hockey gods punished the Blues for firing future Hall of Fame coach Ken Hitchcock the previous season. Now, the Blues hold 2 records: longest playoff appearance streak without a cup, and most wins in a season without making the playoffs, with 44 last season. The Blues were one of the most active teams this summer, acquiring several key role players including David Patron, Patrick Maroon, Tyler Bozak, and trading with Buffalo for Ryan O'Reilly. Alongside Braden Sheen and Vladimir Tarasenko, goal scoring should not be an issue for St. Louis this season. However, to get Ryan O'Reilly, the Blues had to trade away Carter Hutton, who would put up significantly better numbers than Jake Allen last season. Replacing Hutton as the backup in St. Louis will be Chad Johnson. No, not that Chad Johnson. This Chad Johnson. Last season, the Blues were in the top 10 in defense, but in the bottom 10 in offense. And it's very likely, after all the acquisitions, that those two stats are going to flip-flop this coming season. And how all these acquisitions gel together is still going to remain a mystery. In the past 20 seasons, the San Jose Sharks have made it to the postseason 18 times. That's a 90% success rate if your idea of success is playing into mid or late April. However, when you share a metro area with the Golden State Warriors, ideas of success change, as do fan expectations. One part of the Sharks game that will be stellar is the defense. This squad combines some of the best offensive defensemen like Brent Burns and Erik Karlsson, as well as some of the best stay-at-home defensemen in Marc-Edouard Vlasic and Justin Braun. Martin Jones has turned into a solid acquisition for the Sharks over the past couple of years. With reliable Aaron Dell as his backup for the 3rd straight season, Sharks fans can expect much of the same in net as what they've seen in recent years. Adding Evander Kane to a lineup including Couture and Pavelski is an obvious benefit, but trading Tini and Mikhail Bodker has turned the Sharks into a one-line team. Like in the past, the playoffs are expected again in the Bay Area. And Jones can go on a hot streak in the postseason. He's done it before. But the simple question is, will everything fit together come April and May? Alright, who had the Vegas Knights going all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals last year as their preseason prediction? No, put your hand down. Heck, I had them bowing out to the Kings in the first round, not sweeping them. The growth of players like William Karlsson and John Marchessault was completely unexpected last season. As a result, many experts are saying that Karlsson is the best hockey player outside of Edmonton right now. Throw former Montreal captain Max Pekkarinen into the mix, and the top 6 forwards are some of the most dangerous in the league. Nate Schmidt will be serving a 20-game suspension to begin the season, but then be right back in the thick of things, likely to be paired with Brayden McNabb. Marc-Andre Fleury returns between the pipes for the Golden Knights after recording career best in save percentage and goals against average. Some regression is unavoidable, especially after gearing up for a total of 66 games at the age of 33. If there's going to be a team to fall off this season, it will be the Golden Knights. Too many players overachieved, making the idea of them all maintaining that level of production unrealistic. Still, another trip to the postseason should be in the future for the league's newest team. 17. That's the number of seasons the Blue Jackets have been in the NHL. 0. That is the number of playoff series the Columbus Blue Jackets have won since they joined the NHL. This past season saw the team from Ohio make their first back-to-back playoff appearances in franchise history, only to squander a 2-0 lead to the Capitals, with 3 of their 4 losses coming at Nationwide Arena. The front office obviously believes that the Blue Jackets have the right pieces in place for an extended run in 2019. Thomas Vanek is off to Detroit, but the rest of the team remains the same, anchored by 2-time Vezina Trophy winner Sergei Bobrovsky. In front of Bobrovsky is one of the best blue lines in hockey, in Seth Jones and Zach Werenski. One addition to note is former Bruin Riley Nash, who is versatile enough to play on pretty much any line. The lack of changes suggests the Blue Jackets are not going to be ready to compete with the big boys in the East. But with plenty of youth on the roster, regression should not be a fear going into 2019. 21 teams down, 10 more to go. In the next video, we're going to focus on the favorites to raise Lord Stanley's Cup come this June. I would like to thank everyone you see on your screen right now. Without their help, this series and this channel would not even be a thing. This is Sam from Trash Talk. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.